Hi, friends. I'm Sterling Hart, and this is Dreamlight, where we work on dream interpretation and using the insights during our waking life. Improving prophetic dreams. Everyone wants an oracle to tell them what is to come, and at various times we have a feeling, know things, or see things that point to future outcomes. This vision can be detailed and accurate, or it can be put into symbolic forms. This can happen in the waking time as well as in dreams. People's experiences of intuition and prophetic dreams vary from we have to get worked up at a pivotal moment of stress, where we are forced to go inward with sincerity, or we have the opposite, where we are extremely quiet or in harmony with the world. They can also come at times of great change with no apparent triggers except the big events coming to change our lives. For others, it seems only to be rather mundane events or small connections, the foreknowledge being of little practical use. For some, they show us events or people years ahead of their time, and for others, only a few minutes or days. Waking intuition and prophetic dreams have the same source. Working with dream interpretation can allow you deeper insight into that source, and you can help clear yourself of all sorts of blocks in the waking time and, as a consequence, in the dream time. This will allow you to gain a deeper knowledge of what is happening on the subtle level, what we are becoming or must become, and what forces are at play in shaping our future, so that upon waking we move forward with greater awareness and self-mastery. In looking at prophetic dreams, we have three essential kinds. The first is one where some key aspect of the future is seen in accurate detail. The second is where some key part of it is represented in dream language, and this will often be about changes to our sense of self. The third is where we have a dream that doesn't show us or represent the future, but it provides a stimulus to change our direction towards a better future, usually through self-understanding. How do we have more of these kinds of dreams? We need two things that will boost our abilities and overcome pitfalls or blocks in our deep dream abilities. First, we need to concentrate on being more open and receptive to what is going on and the deeper resources available to us. The second is we need to remove blocks, wrong movements, distortion, and obscurity of our waking consciousness. The two work together and are intermixed. In working with dreams, we can begin to open up and clear the way to a better seeing and a more intuitive mind in the waking time. Two of the four levels of dreaming are the psychological and the subliminal. Psychological ones are a window on the subconscious processes dealing with our waking experiences. Subliminal dreams touch a deeper consciousness within us that has access to greater parts of our existence, subtle senses that can perceive things beyond our physical experiences. These include subtle planes and events in the future and past. We can also be in contact and exchange with other places and beings. There is a deeper, vaster knowledge and access to others who can give guidance. Psychological dreams are the most common, and these can be mixed with subliminal elements. We can have a pure subliminal dream that is either a dream that symbolizes something we experienced on a subtle level, or it can be more of a memory of the experience itself. Symbols tend to be multi-layered and far-reaching. It is easier to relate to a more detailed, realistic image, but there may be less knowledge contained in it, or we may miss that it, too, is a symbol. The forces at work on us include the things we are aware of in our waking life, but there are many other subtle forces that we can become aware of, and in dreams, these forces may not be faithfully represented by reference to outer life. Symbols can connect things and have more expressive power. For example, my friend had a vivid dream that he had entered a farmhouse that seemed familiar. He stood in the kitchen and saw an older man in a chair. He was wrapped by a chain that bound his arms and legs and formed an infinity sign. He realized that the man was dying of cancer. He then looked out the window at his old school building. It was swaying in the wind. He remembered its name was Marina. Then he went into another room, and a different man was behind a counter selling coffee and cupcakes. He ordered a cupcake, but the man was taking so long he began to worry it would dry out, so he walked out, but couldn't lift his head. He passed by a woman he knew who was also looking down at the ground. Then he was running through the woods and looking around, and he came into an open space by a river and felt the sun pierce him. He thought initially it had something to do with his girlfriend and his relationship, but as he worked with the dream, he sensed the man in chains with cancer, and the farmhouse was something from the past, but he didn't know what. He thought the dream signaled some release. About a month later, he was told by his mother things about his father that he never knew. His father had died a year earlier, and the estate was finally settled. His father had grown up on a farm, but he didn't know that his grandfather had lost the farm and died of cancer. From the dream, he began to have insight into his own father, as he had always been fatalistic and seemed in a hurry. He remembered family vacations to the Disney theme parks, and always his father was worried about seeing it all. His dad would come up with ideas for businesses and be very enthusiastic, telling his friends, only to crash and say that it was probably not doable in the real world. His dad would save and then splurge. His father got more fatalistic as he got older. He assumed that things weren't possible. His dad always derided his ideas as a kid and said he couldn't achieve anything. His father worked at a business he had helped to get started, but which kicked him out and made him retire early, even though he wanted to work. The school in the wind seemed to him to be about changing his foundations. That if he thought about the school and his memories of it differently, he would begin to see things differently. Someone suggested that Marina wasn't about ships and a dock, a rich symbol, but a character in Shakespeare that had overcome being enslaved. The dream foreshadowed his conversation with his mom and what he found out about his father and grandfather. It also showed him this tendency to be fixated on looking down, expecting the worst to happen, or thinking that anything good, like a cupcake, was in danger. He focused on looking at life as a flow and decided to trust the world. This dream revealed something that was coming into being. It showed a psychological transition. It didn't have anything in it that was actionable information about the future, but it has a symbolic power that borders on the mythic. It speaks to a transformative power. We can divide these dreams into two aspects: what we perceive as happening in the world in varying degrees of accurate detail, and what it means to us. When we look at the world and accept prophetic dreams, most will acknowledge that there is more to reality than what appears to our senses. As you work with dreams, you work with the mind-body as a system that we can stand apart from. We are not so focused on our experiences as our sense of self. In fact, one of the benefits of working with dreams is self-knowledge and the ability to change. We overcome our conditioning and emotional habits and live more consciously. So some dreams speak to the meaning this has for the self-directed part of our being. Life is not just about what things mean to us in terms of a story dealing with the pragmatic aspects of the world. Let's look at a dream that was accurate in detail. My friend told me about a dream he had many years earlier where he saw his ex-girlfriend driving around in a car. They had broken up several years prior to the dream, and she had moved to another city hours away. On the day of the dream, he saw his ex-girlfriend driving by. She honked, but didn't stop. He did think about the dream when he had it, and assumed it meant that he had moved on, but he wondered whether she might be coming back into his life. Years later, it was a powerful dream in that it showed him something before it happened, and was accurate in detail, but he never talked with his ex or even saw her again, so the prescient part of it seemed to be the most important. But it is also a question of what is going on in his life that may have been related to seeing his ex-girlfriend in a car as a symbol. If we look at psychics and remote viewing, there are two things to note. One is the noise. Psychics will often tell you one thing accurately and many things that are off. The other is that people are influenced at a distance, and experiences of subliminal dreams will show that we do have exchanges between people we are focused on, who are focused on us, who are congruent with us in some way, such as teachers who appear just as we need them. Part of the subliminal is related to a wider consciousness and connections to the subtle layers of reality. Just like in the waking life of the material world, we are tuned in and connected to some things. But we all have different social spheres, and of course there are many people we have little to no contact with or awareness of. There are affinities because of what we are tuned into in what will come through in the dream time. All of these are different possibilities. There is a capacity range. I have known people who have had frequent dreams that accurately predicted people coming and going as fellow employees at work. Others have this kind of detailed dream very rarely. These dreams can show an immediately meaningful event in detail, or they can show some minor detail that only becomes revealed later at the time of the event. In the third type of prophetic dream, people don't foresee events or changes, but are led to a realization that changes their life course. It is more inspiration than vision. Example: a friend's husband told me about a dream he had in college. He rarely remembered dreams, but when he did, they were important. He dreamed that he was at his parents' house. He went through the laundry room to the door to the porch and stepped outside. The porch was like an old wooden bridge that ran left and right. Through the slats of the porch wall, he could see there were tables with clothing set out on them like a department store. Then he turned around, and the house began to fragment. On waking, he knew that the dream represented his way of thinking. He was in his first year of college and wanted to change majors. His father had worked at the same company all his life and wore three-piece suits for work. He thought the bridge didn't lead forward, but only to a decision of left or right. This mirrored his school choice. It was between two engineering programs. But beyond the bridge was the department store. The store represented all the different possibilities. He knew he needed to make a change, and it was not a simple decision of this or that. He wanted something where there were many possibilities, and he felt that he would be guided. The dream didn't suggest many things to choose from. It was more that it showed him a choice that would open up his possibilities. So he changed to business management. I include these because of the foresight that is often implied. Sometimes we see in hindsight that a pathway has led us to where we needed to be. It's all led to this. It's all building up to something. I can feel it. But they aren't giving us advice. It is more of an inner knowing that is being displayed. Now, how do we have more of these dreams? By working. 1, to remove psychological blocks, and 2, train our mind to be more open and receptive. We will examine this in part 2. See the link below. If you got something out of this video, please hit the like. If you want more dreams, then subscribe or consider supporting the channel on Patreon with the link below. Till next time.